I love it. I love it. I love it. I'm seeing comments already. Welcome, welcome. I'm Tanya Smith, and this is Stream Like a Boss TV. I am a video marketing coach with Get Noticed with Video at getnoticedwithvideo.com, and this is my weekly live stream show. Thank you so much for the warm welcome already. Let me go ahead and show some of these comments up. As a matter of fact, what I'll do is just put our little comment stream here. First of all, Yvette, what's up? Just finished your first 30-minute live. That is awesome. Congratulations. Thank you, Garen, for being here. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Let me know if I am. JP High Tech in the house. Mr. Scott Benedict. Yes, yes, yes. Garen, I don't know if it's an elite stream, but it is my fun and happy place. Miss Shannon, it's wonderful to see you. Look, if you don't know any better, this is your very first time and you have not seen any of my streams before, here's what I want you to do. I want you to put in hashtag OG if you have been here, if you know how we do things. Miss Marcia Baker just put that in. And if you're brand new, if this is your very first time watching this, I want you to put in hashtag newbie so we can acknowledge you and welcome you here, because I am super excited and thrilled that I get to be here each and every week sharing tips on live streaming video strategies to help you to be able to use live video, embrace your face so that you can serve more people, sell more of your services, and stand out online. So I am thrilled to be here. Yes. Look, I got to put this up. It is a boss stream. My apologies. It's okay. Here's what you do. You put that hashtag newbie in there. I love it. I love it. And I want to acknowledge you and thank you so much for being here with us. Miss Yvette, of course, OG in the house. I love it, y'all. So thank you for coming. Today we're going to have some fun. I'm going to do kind of like a little mini training today. Miss Daisy Candy Brown, I love to acknowledge everybody coming in. Thank you. Semi-new, so you know what? You're an OG now. You're an adopted OG. And there's Michelle as well and Lavon Weaver. Thank you so much for showing up. I appreciate you. Let me go ahead and tell you what we're going to talk about for tonight. I got to get into the topic because this one's going to be a good one. If you are someone who has struggled with a streaming budget, if you're in like AppSumo Anonymous, if you're in AppSumo Anonymous or you're in just FOMO all the time, fear of missing out when it comes to video gear and things that have to do with video, this is going to be the right place for you because I want to talk with you honestly and transparently about some things that have happened with me and some decisions that I've made. Sometimes they're really good decisions. And sometimes they're not so good because they're simply based on passion. So we need to talk a little bit about that because you really can find yourself, if you're starting to do streaming and you're doing video and you're seeing other people stream and you're seeing their setup and you're seeing their camera look so high quality and all those things, it can make you feel like I need to do that if I'm going to get on camera too. And what I want to do is to help you avoid some of the mistakes that I've made, and I want to give you some shortcuts to success as it relates to streaming. And probably some of the things I'm going to talk about will apply to other parts of your business, not just the streaming video gear, because I'm going to literally give you a formula that you can use. I hope you have your notepad and your pen, and if you don't, now is a good time to go ahead and get your notepad and your pen and your favorite drink of whatever that you prefer in the evening, because we're going to chill for a little bit and I'm going to talk to you about some tips on how to prepare your budget for live streaming. So I'm going to share this really short video giving you time to get that notepad and that pen ready, and I'll be right back with the full episode. All right, see you in a second. So like I shared with you, one of the things that I really have learned, I say that I have a lot of street smarts when it comes to video. Even though I've been in the game less time than many have, I've learned a lot because not only before video was I doing or running my own business, but I was also spending money on a lot of things that I really didn't need to spend money on. Some people call it an investment, and I truly believe the term gets used too loosely. If you're investing in something, you usually are investing with the intent for that thing to help you to make that money back plus some. So, not every time you spend is going to be an investment. And I am not a financial advisor, so I'm not here to give you the advice of a financial expert. I'm just getting ready to give you some like reality checks and some things to watch for as it relates to your video and your streaming budget. That's my goal. So, here's what I want to ask you first and foremost. My first question, the question of the day is, what apps or gear have you purchased in the last, let's say, 6 months that you're still not using? So, what apps or gear, and by gear, I mean any type of devices, electronic devices, whether it's a camera or a microphone or something else, what have you purchased in the last 6 months and you have not gotten the return on investment because you haven't used it, you haven't opened it, or you haven't used it effectively to do what it was intended to do when you first set out and said, hey, I'm going to buy this? Go ahead and pop in the comments if there's anything you've purchased, because I can tell you right now, I have almost a graveyard of different types of devices and things that I've spent money on and either never used, or I used them for such a short period that it was not worth the investment. And the same thing has happened with different apps and software. And so I really literally want to do, like I said, a mini tutorial. So today I actually have some, not slides, but I have a mind map I'm going to walk you through of 3 core points I really want to talk about as it relates to your streaming budget. And I got this out on paper because I want to share with you kind of the way that I think behind the scenes in terms of how I'm going to make decisions moving forward. And really, I've implemented some of this stuff anyway in my business. So if there is something that you've purchased, an app or some type of gear in the last 6 months that you're not using right now, I want you to type in whatever that device is, whatever that app is, and I'm looking for your comments on that. And I'm going to share some of my own, so I'll just dive on into that. How about that? Because I know that I'm not the only person that is facing this situation. All right, if you're just tuning in, by the way, we are talking about live streaming budget, and we're making sure, yeah, Daisy, okay, let me see. So Daisy has a comment about a particular app, some software, StreamYard. She bought it and then canceled it. And look, I know several people that have purchased different apps. And look, Michelle, Michelle, if you're an AppSumo addict or any type of lifetime deal addict, that has been my Achilles heel. Yes, LaFern, oh my goodness. You know, when we worked together, that was one of the first questions I asked you is, what do you have right now? What resources do you have that you're not making effective use of? I definitely have to pop up the comments scroll because this is fun. Let's see. John says, I love all my streaming toys too much to not use them. That is perfect and wonderful. I wish I were as disciplined as that. Let's see. It's nice to see you too. I don't know who this unknown user is, but if you're in our Facebook group, I shared a link shortly before we went live where you can give permission so I can acknowledge you and see your lovely face and name. Michelle, yes. And Yasmin, oh my goodness. So look, the other night we had such a wonderful time. If you all didn't see the stream from earlier this week where I was a guest on Unfiltered Live, we had an amazing time. So Gabe is going to actually be on my show. Gabe Leal is going to be on my show. They call him the LinkedIn Live expert, and he also calls himself the streaming tornado. Definitely look that up. If you're in any of my streams right now, you'll probably see that video is there from 2 days ago. And Yasmin was one of our guests. Yes, thank you. We even had a whole everything failed. I'm going to tie that into what we're talking about today, because there's a piece of equipment that we need to talk about as one of the must haves or essentials if you're going to be committed to doing this. Yes, yes, I mean, we got some support and some love, but things did go a little bit awry, which they sometimes can do. So let's dive in. I'm going to send you all over to my mind map and we're going to start diving into the topic for today. So I created this for you because I really, really wanted to stay on track. And I also wanted to make sure that I give you some wisdom that you can use and apply instantly. Yeah, and Yvette, it was definitely not you. It was a storm that came through. It was a storm that came through. I'm going to talk about that. And before I even dive into this specific thing, here's the thing. This is what I want to say. My stepdad, when I was growing up, made a comment that he used to say this whole phrase over and over again that I want to share with you now that may apply to you. I know it applied to me, and I still remember it even to this day. He said, "Oh, your eyes got bigger than your stomach, huh?" He would say that whenever we would dive in and get way too much of something, whether it was food or something else, he'd be like, "Yeah, your eyes were bigger than your stomach. Don't let your eyes be bigger than your stomach." I'll explain what that means, but I think you may even get it. If you've ever heard that phrase, we're going to talk a little bit about that. Yes, John, I love it. And that is perfect. Use free software trials, entry levels wherever possible. Yes, and a free level of Restream. Perfect. And we're going to talk about that. I want you all to think about some of these ideas that I share and share your own too. Like I love what John just shared. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to walk you through a couple of things that I want you to really ask yourself as you are thinking about your live stream. So maybe you're just getting started. And so you're thinking about, what do I actually need to purchase? And maybe you haven't invested in anything at all. Or maybe you're at that place where I was when I first started live streaming and I felt like I needed to go out and buy a bunch of things. Here's where I want you to start when you're first starting out. And I'll try to blow this up a little bit more so that you can make sure you can see it. Where to start? There are 3 questions that you need to ask yourself. 3 questions. Number 1 is, first of all, what's your goal with live streaming? Because some of you are actually making a decision to live stream solely for a limited time. So it's for a series where you're promoting a book or a workshop, or there's something that you're promoting, right? But it's not necessarily something that you're committed to doing for long term. Now, personally, I want to encourage you to think about a live stream strategy that is long term, because I feel like there's so much opportunity. We've talked about that in a lot of shows, so I won't get too off topic. But yes, the shiny object syndrome is real. It's a struggle, right? So the first thing I want you to be thinking about is, what is the goal? What am I trying to accomplish here? What am I trying to achieve with streaming? And that's going to help you to determine what you really need, okay? First thing is, what's the goal? The second thing is, what's your commitment level? Because here's the thing that often many of us struggle from, and that is the idea that, hey, I think I'm going to do this thing and I'm going to start this and it's going to be great. And we get really excited and passionate about the thing. And then we fall off the wagon. Then we decide, you know what? I thought that was going to be great, but I don't think it's really for me. So you really want to ask yourself, am I committed to doing this long term before I start investing thousands of dollars? Because you can easily and quickly get to that level when it comes to streaming. What are some of the more common expenses I'm going to talk about next? But what do I really need? And am I committed to doing this for the long term? Because if so, there's going to be a different budget that you're going to want to put together. There are going to be things that you're going to aspire to get that maybe you don't have now. Or, and this is my most important point for many of you who are sitting there thinking about live streaming, but you're not quite sure that you're committed, just start where you are. Start with the resources you have, because you literally can pick up your phone and go live right this minute. You don't have to go out and buy a thing, because you have audio, you have visual, you have some of the things that would be the more common tools that you need in your arsenal to get started. The third thing I want you to think about is what resonates with your audience. So what is it? And this is kind of key in terms of what you are making decisions about now and what you're going to make a decision about in the future. And let me tell you, I'll explain to you really quickly why I think this is so relevant. We were on a call. My academy last night had a special guest speaker who did training for us on TikTok. And we were talking about video and the difference between the platforms. We were talking about the fact, for instance, that TikTok itself really prefers, or some of the videos, depending on who your audience is, the audience prefers you to be really more natural and organic and not so produced. When you have overly produced reels and TikToks, at least this is what I've found, most of the time when they're overly produced and they look like, hey, I've added all this pretty stuff and I've got, these fancy words flying across the screen and all of that, they get far fewer views and far less engagement than the ones where I simply have my face on camera and I'm talking to the camera and talking to that individual person, right? And maybe I have captions on and that's it. So you need to think about what resonates with your audience on the platform that you're going to be choosing, because that's also going to help you make a decision about the things that you need to invest in versus what you don't. So I'm going to answer this question that popped up by Stuart. Thank you. What streaming software or gear are you using for your stream right now? So right now, and I'll kind of go a little bit more in depth with this, Stuart, but at the moment, I'm actually streaming through Ecamm Live. I'm using Restream as well to multi-stream to different platforms. So I'm on LinkedIn, YouTube, multiple spaces in Facebook and Twitter. And I'm using Ecamm Live. I have a Sony a6400 camera. It's a DSLR camera. And I have a Shure microphone, Shure. So I can talk a little bit more about that here shortly. Yes, I love it. I love the questions. So keep them coming. Okay, so the first three things in my little list of things for you to think about is, what is your goal? What's your commitment level? And then what's going to resonate with your audience depending on the platform that you're choosing? Because if you're choosing, for instance, to do something that's really super fancy, a little bit like what I'm doing right now, that goes over pretty well with YouTube and LinkedIn and Facebook and those type of spaces, but not necessarily so much on Instagram Reels or on TikTok. So think about where you're going to be doing your videos and think about your commitment level and all the things that we just mentioned. Yes, yes, yes. I love that you all are coming in. Let's go into number 2. I want to talk about the breakdown of common expenses. So here's some things that you really want to kind of keep in mind as you're thinking about expenses, because my goal was to really give you some things to consider when it comes to creating your live streaming budget. So you have to have, this is a must-have, a device that's going to capture your face and your voice. Duh, right? Because it's video. So you need people to hear you and you need people to see you. So this is a common expense that you're probably going to be thinking about. Now, again, you can always start where you are and start with the phone that's in your hand 24/7. That works just fine. My daughter actually is starting to do more media. She's actually doing some media over for University of Texas at Dallas. And what's interesting is she's been coming to my, I just paused for a minute. Yeah, I'm having some issues right now. Hopefully you can still hear me, but I'm going to flick my camera off real quick and I'm going to switch it. This has been happening a little bit today. Let's switch over to, it's the camera. So I've been having a few little issues. with the cam, but hopefully you can still hear me. So let's go ahead and reset this cam real quick. Hold on. Yes. Cheers to you too, Stuart. I'm going to switch over to another camera scene right now because this is what we have to do sometimes, folks. This is what we do. We're going to switch it to our fancy dancy FaceTime camera. I don't know what's been happening. I honestly think it has to do with my cam link. I think there's an update that's needed. I'll switch it back shortly, but I need to give it a chance. Thank you so much, JP, for letting me know that you can hear me. Yeah, it was frozen. It was frozen, and I think I'm syncing off a little bit slowly too. So something's happening, but that's okay. We're going to keep going. Okay, always have a backup. As a matter of fact, I'm in the process now of shopping for a backup, and that's one of the things I want to talk to you about. So let's go back to common expenses, and I'm going to pull up my screen real quick here. We'll switch our camera. We'll switch that to the FaceTime camera so you can still see me. See, I'm still here. All right. So when we look at, thank you. How did you switch? Okay, let me answer this question. How did I switch cameras? So what I'm doing is I'm actually using Ecamm Live. And yeah, JP, thank you for letting me know that your cam link is messing up. I think there must be something with an update happening there, which is fine. We always have our backup plan, don't we? So I switched cameras, Tessie, to your question. Thank you, Stuart, for watching. Yes, catch us on the replay. Tessie, I switched cameras because I'm using Ecamm Live, and Ecamm gives you the ability to be able to, as a matter of fact, any of the streaming platforms will let you do this. But if you have multiple cameras set up, which is something I highly encourage you to do if you're going to be streaming consistently and if you're committed and all the things we talked about in the first question about where to start, right? But you need to always have a backup. I have multiple cameras. Right now I have 3. I'm about to buy a 4th one. The reason why I have multiple cameras besides the backup is that I also like to get different positions and poses. I don't use them often lately, but I'm going to do more scene switching in my future videos. So I hope that kind of answered your question. I would say, from a common expense standpoint, the things you're going to need would be a device to capture your face and voice. So we already kind of talked about that. You do not need to go and buy a $500 or $1,200 or $3,000 camera starting off. You literally can invest in a webcam that is reasonable and affordable. More often than not, I tend to tell people the Logitech C922 was my go-to, and it's still one of my go-tos. I'm going to see if I can pull it up. I have one up. I have my C922 mounted right now. I'm going to try to pull it up and see if I can show you what that looks like, because it's still sufficient, right? There it is. So here's my C922, right? Now you can notice that it's a little grainy, but it still can work. I mean, it's doable. It's not my favorite, but it can work. It can do what I need it to do. And so starting off with something that is sufficient, especially if you're still experimenting and trying to figure out what you want to do, that can work fine. Now, my friend, and I just caught up with him yesterday, Lou Bortone, the godfather of video, was telling me that the Lumina, Lumina, the Lumina is an AI camera, and it's about $199, so about $200. Very nice quality. He's excited about the fact that the AI allows it to move with you. So if you're moving and if you're doing different things, it follows you. My friend Dr. Elo, who's also going to be on our show very soon at the end of September, he also has a camera I can't think of right now, but I'll make sure that when he comes on the show, he talks about it. The key is to make sure that you are choosing something that fits within your budget, which we're going to get to in a second. But just know that one of the common expenses you're going to have will be something to capture your face and voice. And just like you've seen me kind of deal with this issue today, my cam link is something that I had to purchase. And I'm going to switch over real quick here. My cam link was something that I had to buy. Yeah, it's still frozen. Wow. So we're going to switch that again to FaceTime. It was something I had to buy in order to connect my DSLR camera. So the Sony a6400, the really beautiful one that was just frozen just now, when you think about investing in higher ticket equipment, you got to keep in mind it's not just the device that you're going to buy. You also then have to buy the accessory items. So you're going to then have to buy something like a cam link in order to make sure that your computer recognizes that DSLR camera as a webcam. You're going to have to think about different cables and hubs and other things. So I'm saying this to you to say, when you start getting ready to put your budget together for your different devices, cameras, microphones, and everything else, you want to keep in mind it's not just the one thing. What else do you need? You've got to ask that question, and you've got to do some research. I'm going to switch you back over so we can go back into some of the other questions real quick here. And I got to switch every camera right now because every camera is still frozen. But I'm good with that. All right. Yeah, I probably need to do that, JP. And yeah, there's no other cameras or no other devices or images in the background. Yeah, I love it. So Jennifer just said this. Love the point about not going after things that don't fit where you are, where you're going, and ask yourself, will it support you getting to the goal? Exactly. You have to ask yourself that question. Okay, so you need the device to capture your face and voice. You need a streaming platform unless you're planning on going live natively inside of the app or social space you choose. So what do I mean by that? I mean, if you're going to be going live, for instance, inside of Facebook, you can use Facebook's platform. It's not the best, in my opinion. You can even go live directly in YouTube. There's some criteria that need to be filled and met first. You can go live in different spaces without purchasing a third-party platform, but I would say that you get what you pay for. Now, I remember seeing one of the comments earlier from our newbie who talked about OBS, and OBS is free streaming software. Yes. It can be a little bit complicated to learn. So you definitely want to give yourself the time and the space to learn how to use it. You can watch some YouTube videos, just do a search for OBS broadcasting software, and you'll be able to find information on how to get started using that. And it is free, and it can make your videos look a little bit more upscale than if you're just using the native social platform. But I am a firm believer, after having used so many different streaming platforms, I literally have accounts with just about all of them. I've tried vMix, I use Ecamm, I have Melon, I have BeLive, I have StreamYard, or I've used StreamYard. So to your question, what do you think about StreamYard? I think StreamYard is definitely a decent streaming platform for you to use. Any of these spaces that you try, and the important thing is to do a trial. Any of these spaces that you try, you want to see if it's going to give you what you're looking for. You want to know that it is meeting the needs of your particular stream. So the thing about a lot of these, whether it's StreamYard or Restream or Melon or OneStream Live, even Wave Video now has a streaming studio that you can use. Most of them have very similar features, but there's still some slight differences, right? Yes. Okay, and I've heard that as well lately, that StreamYard is starting to do more freezing. One of the things you can definitely check, because for me, like right now, I'm using Ecamm, which is one of the best. But the reason for my stream freezing, I'm pretty sure is not Ecamm. I think it has to do with an update that's needed for my cam link, so I have to look into that later. JP says he started streaming with a Logitech Pro. Yeah, just start wherever you are and then build up to it. From a budgeting standpoint, yeah, and LaFern, I love Ecamm too because it gives you so much flexibility. I mean, literally, I could just change things in just a quick second because of Ecamm. But here's the point I wanted to make about that. Whichever platform you use, it doesn't matter which one you use really. And let me try something real fast here. Okay, I'm going to switch back over. I'm just going to see if my cam comes on. With anything that you're going to use, you need to make sure that you get familiar with it so that you can use it to the fullest, to the max, okay? So what I want you to really do is to get comfortable with whatever trial you do. Don't just try it one time. Try it a few times. Try it for the 30 days or the 14 days or whatever the trial period is. Go live several times so that you can get familiar with the dashboard, with where things are, because that will tell you if it literally is going to be the place and the space for you or not. Okay, I'm going to check real quick here. We'll see. Yeah, it looks like it is. It's just frozen. Okay, no problem. We're not going to worry about the beautiful cam tonight. I'll worry about that later. I want to get you the information more than anything. Okay, so streaming platform, pick one, pick a couple, do some trials, and see what you love. The third thing under this breakdown of common expenses is a video host. So, where are you going to host these videos you're doing? And what I mean by that is once you've completed your recordings, you've done your lives, you always want to keep a copy of your property. Don't leave it to YouTube and Facebook and all the other spaces to hold your stuff for you. You want to make sure that you have a space, a dedicated space for your videos. Videos can take up a lot of space on your computer. So you want to be thinking about a host. Currently, I'm using something called BunnyNet. BunnyNet is my favorite. It's the place where I actually store all of my videos. Thank you, JP. JP's giving me all the encouragement. I just love my friend. Thank you. Um, I like BunnyNet because it's a great place to store my videos and to also let me be able to stream them in other private spaces. So, for example, when I create certain video courses and tutorials and things like that, they're shared within my Stream Bosses Academy. Stream Bosses Academy is a paid membership space. So I don't want just anybody to go and get access to the content that's there. I want it behind some type of gateway. Now, if you use YouTube as your host and that's the only place you store your videos, trust me, somebody can get access to it, right? You want to think about Vimeo. So Vimeo is a good video hosting spot. Vimeo also has the ability to do live streaming, although to me, I think it's a bit on the pricey side, given that there are so many other competing platforms. So I'm going to just be honest and say that. But from a hosting standpoint, you can certainly store videos there. You can also keep copies, like if you have Google Drive or you have Dropbox or you have a space like that. You just need to make sure you're looking into whatever your subscription allows you to store, because again, videos take up a lot of space. The goal ultimately is that you want to be able to get to your content when you need it, and you want to make sure that there is a copy somewhere where you can access it and you can maybe repurpose it at a later time, or you can use it, in the future for broadcasting as an evergreen webinar. There's all kinds of things you can do with your streaming video once you're done. Don't just let it sit there on YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter and leave it to die, because it's probably, in most cases, we all create a lot of really amazing content and it's evergreen, meaning that the concepts will be the same even a couple of years from now. Now, if it's time sensitive content, that could be different. And yeah, Michelle, I mentioned Google Drive as well. So Google Drive is also a spot that you can host. But again, keep in mind whatever your subscription allows you in terms of volume. Like, are you going to be paying more for doing that? Are you going to quickly eat up whatever space you have? And the other thing about Google Drive, it's not as easy to share your videos to other spaces, such as inside of a membership area. It's not as easy to share. Now, you can, there are workarounds. I figured out some with Google Drive, but it's just not as simple. And I definitely need to pop up this comment from JP because you need to know this. YouTube compresses the video quality for web easy streams. He keeps his videos on Roku CDN. Yes, and you know what? I'm going to have to bring JP back soon because we're going to be talking about that Roku thing, sir. I'm working with him and his team on some things for my show that have to do with Roku. So heads up. All right, so video host, a place to store your videos and a place depending on your goals and what you're trying to accomplish. You want it to be able to do all the things you need it to do. Notice the theme here is going back to what I told you that you need to be asking yourself in the beginning, which is what's my goal? What's my purpose? How do I want to use this? Right? Okay, software and apps. So those could be other common expenses that you end up using. Some of the more common expenses, and I'm going to at least switch it this way. Some of the more common software and apps, I would tell you that I'm thinking of things like I had a friend ask me today, hey, Tanya, what's your best advice on a teleprompter software that I can add to my phone? So you might decide, you know what, I don't want to just go off the cuff on all of my videos. Some of them I actually want to use a teleprompter. So there's software and apps for that. There is also hardware for that if you choose to use something like that. There may be other apps that help you to edit and do additional design for your videos. There is a lot. Oh goodness, LaFern, that's a good question. Let me answer this in regards to the storage space. So the big difference between BunnyNet and Vimeo probably is the cost. I would say that the cost of Vimeo can get pretty pricey, especially because you need to make sure that you're purchasing, if you do Vimeo, beware and read the fine print. Make sure that you're getting the appropriate license with Vimeo so that you don't get booted off. How do I know this? Because I got booted off. When I was early in my video stages, I was using Vimeo and I was using a plan that I thought was sufficient because I thought it fit my budget. It was affordable. And I found out that because I was using my video for commercial purposes and for business, there was a different plan that I was supposed to be on. And I had to upgrade to that plan, which was definitely more expensive. With BunnyNet, I use that because it is definitely much more affordable, but it's also because it gives me a lot of flexibility, much like Vimeo does. Now, one of the differences, you get what you pay for. Vimeo does give you options and ability to, like I said, it gives you a live streaming option. You have to pay additional for that. But there are some other features and things that you can get with Vimeo that are a little easier as far as captioning and playback quality and giving people the option to slow down or speed up the video. There are some features that are available in Bunny. Or in Vimeo that may not be in BunnyNet. So you'll want to check that out and maybe do a trial before you switch if you're on Vimeo right now. Yes, Scott, more options. Yep. So I would definitely be thinking about those first three things in this second section, though. What's the device? What's the streaming platform? And where are you going to host it? And then also, what additional software or apps do I want or need? And I'm going to also say that you want to be thinking too about your outsourcing. Do you want to outsource your editing? Are you planning on doing editing? Look, I'm going to switch my camera again. Are you planning on doing any type of editing with your videos? Are you planning on, because look, here's what I know about live streaming. I know what you see is what you get. So all the mistakes and the glitchy things that are happening right now with this live stream, I don't mind keeping them in the stream because I feel like there are some lessons that can be learned. Now, you may be thinking, hey, I want to use my live streams and then I want to take my live streams and edit them so that they will be much more clear. I can take out all the, hey girl, how you doing? Right? I can take out all the extra addendum and make sure that it's only covering the core points so that people will be more likely to watch it as a video on demand. And I get that. So if you're going to be editing, you either think about editing software that you want to invest in, or you're going to have to think about a budget for hiring someone, outsourcing your editing. But that is also a budget item that you have to think about and consider. And JP, yeah, I was in that. So, LaFern, to the question you asked earlier, JP's confirming. Booted off Vimeo as well. Do not recommend it. It is. There's a lot more limitations and rules, and it is much more expensive. And I'm not sure that I understand the benefit, the advantage to doing it. For the features that I needed and that I need now, I'm absolutely fine. I do really well with BunnyNet. So you just need to do a little bit of experimenting and see what's going to work best for you. And again, you want to make that list of things, which we're going to get to right now. Okay, let me switch us back over here to the chart. Okay, so these things, the breakdown of common expenses was what we led off with last. I want to go into some sage wisdom and advice. Okay, and here's where we're going to do the little chart that I want to show you how to do. Yes, okay, and Scott just shared a recommendation for professional editing software, DaVinci Resolve, compostable to Adobe Premiere or Final Cut. Thank you, Scott, for sharing. I know Scott is doing a lot more video too, so I love these recommendations. Oh, comparable. Okay, gotcha. And LaFern, yes, I'm so glad that this is timely. Yeah, you got to watch for that because a lot of the things, sometimes we think things are free or are for us, but you have to read the fine print. And so if they're telling you, hey, if you use this service, it's not free if you have a business or if you are using it for commercial reasons. We have to take care to read the fine print so that we're within the guidelines. So this one is a little bit bigger, and I'm going to make that a little bit smaller right there so you can see the whole thing. We'll move that over. So your live streaming budget. This is what I wanted to share with you so that you can really think about creating your own notes around this. This is why I suggested that you definitely get your notepad and your pen out and create 4 columns, okay? The 3 pieces of advice I would give you under this sage wisdom section. Number 1, not everything is for you, okay? So I know that person had a really cool set. I know they had this really cool advice about cameras and they told you to go out and get this big ticket item, but it may not be right for you in this moment. It may not be what's meant for you right now. And I want you to be okay with that, right? You don't have to run out and spend the $2,000 on the fancy camera and you just barely got started. I want you to be really conscientious about that. I know I'm all in your pocketbook, but I'm telling you this from experience because what I saw myself doing, and this is why I have the graveyard of stuff, right? I found myself looking at other people and seeing what they were doing and thinking, oh, well, I know I already have a microphone, but I need that mic because that's cool, right? One of my very first microphones, it was the Blue Snowball. It was the one that looks like the old radio. I actually still have it over there. I should have brought it over for you. But it has like a big ball on the top, and it's an old school radio style mic. And it did me well for it did me well for probably about a year or so. And yes, I did upgrade. I upgraded because I found that the sound quality, as different operating systems were updating with Windows because I was using a PC at the time. I found that the sound quality was not as great. I found that there were things that were changing and I needed to change with that and to grow because my show was growing. I was growing and developing in my video skills. And so I did then start experimenting and exploring and finding other microphones. But I didn't have to go out and buy the, $1,000 mic in order to sound decent. And I will tell you, so some of you in my Facebook group know about this. I'm going to show you a picture real fast here because I need to break this down for you because you asked about it. Some of you asked me about this. JP will know about what this is, and some of you know what this is too. It's a Rodecaster Pro. I recently made a big purchase. I say big purchase, but I only bought the fairly new or the older one, not the big new one, the big shiny new one, which I saw on sale for about $1,000, $1,200 something with a big kit and stuff on Amazon, right? I bought this fancy dancy Rodecaster Pro and I was like, oh, I can't wait to use this. This is going to be awesome. I have it next to my Stream Deck. I'm going to look cool and people are going to see it and I'm going to sound better and people are going to just love, right? So I went through all of these justifications as to why I bought this thing. I used it for probably about 12, maybe 13 days. And when I got up one morning this past week and I tried to turn the thing on, it did not come on. It did not come on, y'all. I checked all the cables. I checked to make sure that the outlet was working. I checked all these things and it did not come on. And I was so ticked off. I was ticked because I thought, I'm going to do all these things. But let me tell y'all the truth. I'm going to be really honest with you. And yes, John has it. JP has the original as well, I believe. You probably have the second one too, JP, knowing you. But a lot of video professionals use a Rodecaster Pro. And I'll tell you the reason for it. The reason for using the Rodecaster is that it allows you to mix your audio. And there's some other fancy things it'll do too. But the main purpose that I got it for was to mix my audio. I wanted it to take my sound to give it a boost, which it did. I wanted to add other fancy, like I wanted to add music from my Epidemic Sound app. I wanted to add sound effects. I wanted to do all these fancy things. And because in the near future, I do want to broadcast into podcast mode. That's one of the goals that I have. I used to have a podcast. I wanted to return to podcast and do kind of a multimedia type of thing. So I thought this was a really good investment at the time. But as I started thinking about it, when I was going to exchange the Rodecaster, I realized a couple of things. One, it was taking up a lot of space on my desk, which was kind of making me a little annoyed. Yes. And JP, because you and India Delgado and a couple of other people told me to get the original, that's the reason why I invested in the original. And plus, it was a little less expensive, but still had all the bells and whistles. But I started thinking about it and I was like, I barely used it in the 13 days I've had it. My sound effects I've been using from inside of Ecamm. Like I'm already paying for Ecamm every month and I have sound effects there. My music from Epidemic Sound, I also pull into Ecamm. So I started thinking about the need, and this is where my little chart is going to come in for you. Now, I will probably a little bit further down the road go ahead and invest in another one because at the level that I would like to be with my video and because I am truly committed and there's some things I want to do with it, I think I will need it. I don't need it right now. So I did turn it back in to get my full refund. There's the Rodecaster Pro, right? In all its glory with all the pretty lights, but I didn't have to have it. So here's what I'm going to share with you in our little chart here. What I'm doing, and this is what I encourage you to do, is to create for yourself a budget. And what you can do literally, let me blow this up a little bit more. We'll move that some if I can. Doesn't look like it's going to let me. Okay. Hopefully you can see that. So what I have is a column for the item. So you're going to make the first column be the device, the gear, the software, whatever it is you're going to invest in or you're thinking about investing in, right? Then you're going to have a column for, do I have this? This is important. You need to figure out, do I already have something that does what I'm thinking about doing? Because I cannot tell you how many times I've bought software and gear that's doing something I already can do. So, do I have something that does the thing? Yes. And JP is telling me you will surely be using it more. He knows because he knows my plans, but it's not for the faint of heart or the beginners. Laverne, this is me. I get caught up when there's a good sale. I know, Lord. Now the Stream Deck I do use that, and I like the Stream Deck because it gives you that one button click. So you can switch between your different scenes in Ecamm. You can turn your lights on and off. So my whole studio, India Delgado, is helping me get everything set up and programmed into Stream Deck. So all I have to do is press some buttons, and it's go time, right? That was definitely an investment that I wanted, but I didn't necessarily have to have. So do you have something that does the thing already? When I think about my Stream Deck, no, I didn't have anything that gave me that one button click functionality. I didn't. Yeah, and Scott, yes, yes, yes. What's a Stream Deck? Okay, so in that picture that I just showed you, right next to, so right here on the left, that's a Stream Deck. Okay. And I didn't have all my pictures on it at the time when I took this photo before I sent the road back. But the Stream Deck allows you, and I can't get too deep into it, but I'll say it gives you the ability to be able to automate and program a lot of the things that you do so that you just press one button and you can literally, like I was saying to LaFern, you can switch scenes, you can turn on sound effects. So that's what Scott does with his. So you can have different effects that sound like, let's see, you can blow up your screen with animations by just clicking a button, right? You can do all kinds of fun stuff. Now I'm doing this right now with my mouse because there's still a few things I need to do with my Stream Deck. But in the future, I will literally just have my Stream Deck as my controller where I can press buttons. But was it a have to? Because if you're getting caught up with the shiny objects, that's the thing I want you to really think about. Is it something I already have? Do I need it? Is your second column. Do you need it for the level in which you're trying to play? Okay, think about that. Where I am right now, do I need it? Will I need it in the future? You can answer that question for yourself. Do I just want it because it's so cool and I just feel like I need to have it? Want is definitely a column. And then you need to have a column for cost. So if you can create your own little table, and you can do this in Excel and Google Sheets, on a piece of paper, however you want to do it. But what I want to encourage you to do is to create your budget and to look at, what do I already have? You can even do this in something like Airtable. In Airtable, I actually have a chart where I've started keeping track of all my lifetime deals. So I have the lifetime deal, I have how much I paid for it, when I bought it, I have what it does, so that I can easily go back and scan through and see, do I have something that does this before I buy another juicy app? But you just put your item in that first column here. Like I have camera, microphone, and lighting. So this could be apps. It could be whatever you want. Do I have something that does it? Yes or no? Do I need this? Do I really need this? When do I need it? Might be another follow-up question for you. Do I want it because it's cool? Because guess what? If you're making money, if you're generating income from your business and from your videos, by all means, you do need to have a splurge-a-thon. You do need to be able to go and invest in some things you want. I wanted a stream deck. I didn't have to have it. I didn't necessarily need it, but I am finding that it is super useful for managing all the things when it comes to my videos. So the cost is also something you're going to want to include, because you need to know, do I have right now in this moment in my savings or in my business account, do I have the funds to invest in this? What I don't want you to do, and one of the reasons why I really created this whole entire presentation, is to help you to start thinking more strategically about your budget, and think strategically about what it is you really need versus what you don't need. And yes, John, I'm big on this, dude, because I am an AppSumo addict. I'm not even gonna lie. I do. There are a lot of really, really awesome apps on AppSumo. I highly recommend you follow what John just said. You want to be aware of what is the refund policy. Most of the time it's 30 days. Some things are even more, even longer for the refund period for that specific app. You want to look at the fine print and know, because if you're not using it, or you don't see yourself really using it, you've had it for 20 days, you haven't used it, you don't see yourself using it anytime in the near future or ever, you might want to go ahead and refund that, right? And they're aware. That's why they have such a generous refund policy, right? So think about how you can make sure you're managing your budget effectively and in a smart way when it comes to buying all this stuff, because some of the expenses are going to be worth it. It was worth it that I got a lifetime deal to Restream. It was worth it that I got the lifetime deal to Melon app and some of the other things that I've gotten, because now if I ever want to switch to a different streaming platform, I don't necessarily have to pay for a subscription. I can go straight to that thing. So if something happens in my income, right, in my budget, if somebody gets laid off, if anything changes, and I'm not putting that out there for it to happen, but if anything changes in my household, I now have invested, truly invested in something that's now giving back to me, because I can still continue to do the things I need to do without being out of pocket. So think about creating your own budget chart. The last thing that I want to just remind you of is the tip that my stepdad gave me. I know, Debbie, yeah, it was a deal. I try inside of our Facebook group, I try to come and tell you all when there is a specific software or app or something that I know, hey, this thing is on lifetime deal and here's the reasons why you need it. I try to do that. I'm not always the best at it, but I do try to share with you so that you know. Yes, Restream is a separate software, but the purpose in using it, and this is getting ready to change because Ecamm just made some changes. In the beta version of Ecamm, you now can, without any other software, go live in multiple places. There are a couple of reasons why I'm still using Restream. One of which is I want to see LinkedIn comments. The other, and that's not yet available, I don't think, in Ecamm. The other reason why is because I want to. Well, there's just several little bitty things that are going to switch up, right? After Ecamm's beta gets really, really stable, I'll probably let go of Restream. But right now, I use it to multicast. So Ecamm is the system I'm using for recording this, right? And for being able to switch the scenes and make everything nice and lovely. But Restream is what is sending it out to different spaces. Restream also has excellent analytics, so I can go back after the show and look at where did people fall off, how long did people stay on. Those type of things are important to me as I'm looking at making changes to future shows. So that's my reason for that. But the last tip I wanted to share with you is what stepdad gave me, which is don't let your eyes be bigger than your stomach. What he meant by that, and again, some of you may have heard that phrase if you're old school like me, your eyes are bigger than your stomach, girl. It is about the fact that sometimes we look, it's like if you go to a buffet. Think about it this way. You go to a buffet, and your stomach, you're not really even hungry. But there's just so much good stuff on the buffet that you fill your platter up, right? And you now are sitting there forcing yourself to eat all this food because it's there, not necessarily because you're really hungry. That's really the point. So going and buying a bunch of gear and apps just because it's there should not be the rationale. Instead, LaFern said, okay, I'm closing the Amazon app right now. It should be because you have intentionally and purposefully thought of, these are the things I need to do. This is what I need to buy because of the things I'm trying to do. And here's how much it's going to cost me. And yes, I am prepared in this moment to pay for that versus putting it on credit cards, which we don't want to do, right? So all of those things. Yes, eCam is a game changer. It truly is. It's to me, there's so much. I was talking with Gabe a couple nights ago on the Unfiltered Live. We talked about that, and eCam, it literally gives you, there's no, there's so many possibilities. There's so many possibilities of things you can do. I can take a beautiful version of my eCam scenes and broadcast that into a Zoom webinar. I did that with a keynote a couple of months ago that I had to do via Zoom, and people were just like amazed. Like, wow, how did you do that? And how did you make that thing fly across the screen? And how did you make, things like this pop up? Let me see. Your mind was blown. Look, they were just excited and just thrilled about just the presence of this eCam Live camera inside of Zoom. So there's a ton of things. I could talk about eCam all day, but I won't. Thank you. Thank you, Debbie. I appreciate that. The key is I want to do this real quick recap with you. And sadly, because I don't think my camera is working, yeah, it's still stuck. Let me switch it. Hold on. I'm going to try to switch that camera over to the proper camera. I think it's locked. Hold on. So you don't have to see my face looking like that. That's crazy. Ugh. Y'all. I'll do it later. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to do a verbal. I'm getting all the frozen screens. So crazy. Let me do a verbal recap with you. Here's what I was going to have on that fancy dancy screen. We'll break it down. The first thing you want to think about is, if you had to break it down into 3 steps, okay, 3 key points. Yes, John, excellent question. eCam is Mac only. eCam is the reason I bought a Mac, because I've been a PC girl forever, right? Forever. And I decided to buy a Mac solely for the purposes of being able to use eCam. I know that sounds crazy, but it was a game changer. It has truly transformed my video. Yes. Yes. And look, JP uses this too. So he uses eCam Virtual Cam in every video. Yes, and it surely is a must-have. The subscription is pretty decent compared to most of them. Most of the subscriptions to platforms these days are going to be somewhere between anywhere from $49 to $97 a month. And the difference between the two is definitely worth it if you're looking for quality and you're definitely going to be committed, because that was one of the things I was going to say, is the commitment level is the number one thing I want you not to forget. Please remember that. Of all the things we've talked about tonight, make sure that you think about your commitment level. If you're committed to doing video consistently and regularly, having quality presence is going to be definitely helpful for you. And so the difference between that $49 and $97 could be the very next gig that you get asked to do and paid to do. So commitment level. The other thing I mentioned to you is to break down common expenses. So you want to think about some of the more common expenses and what do you believe you need that you don't have right now. Because the third thing is creating that chart and having that budget chart put together so that you know, here's what I have. here's what I need, here's what I want, and here's what it's going to cost me. If you've got those things in your chart and you have it laid out, you've written it, it's going to help you tremendously in making the decisions before you spend the money. Somebody, a wise person told me once to, thank you, Scott, told me once to freeze your credit card, like put it in a block of ice so that when you get ready to go to Amazon and make those purchases, you have to go thaw the doggone card out first. And at the time I was like, yeah, I don't want to do that. But it really, you put things in place, boundaries in place for yourself to protect yourself and your family, because your goal ultimately with the business is that you want to drive income and profit, right? Not just enough to make up for the things you're spending, but you want to create a profit. If you're going to have a profitable business, you need to make better and wiser business decisions. So that's what tonight's episode really was about. Thank you all for putting up with me and my frozen camera. I'm going to work on that after we get done. I keep looking at the wrong camera, so if I'm looking up, it's because I'm used to looking at my DSLR, but I had to use my face cam. But it's all good. Things do happen with your streams, and you just need to be prepared. If you're thinking about, this was the other thing I was going to say. This is the last point I'll make. If you're thinking about essentials, one of the things you definitely want to think about is having a backup power battery. Okay. When we did our live on Unfiltered Live a couple of nights ago, that's what happened is the power went out. The power went out for Gabe because he was in the middle of a big storm. And so everything shut down. The live stream shut down. Thankfully, a few minutes later, we both were calm and patient. And a few minutes later, it came back on and we were reconnected quickly. But I shared with him that I was actually kind of tripping a little bit. My birthday's coming up and my husband bought me a backup power battery. And I was like, what's this? Like, this isn't jewelry. This is jewelry. This isn't a purse. What is this? You're so welcome, John. You're so welcome. And what ended up happening is that whole situation with Gabe made me think, hold up. I guess that means I need to make sure I have this battery to back up everything. It keeps your system running even when everything else in the house powers down. Keeps it running for about 30 minutes. I know, right? Yes, it's so important. And Texas has some crazy storms too, LaFern. So yeah, from this point forward, I will be using the birthday gift and connecting my really important things like my camera, my video, my computer. I will be connecting those things to the backup battery because I want to make sure that power stays on if we're doing a live, even if the rest of the house goes out, so that I can easily, calmly, and gently turn those things off and it doesn't ruin them. So, yes. And you know what? Thinking like a virtuous woman, I will answer that question about Camlink in the comments. I'll do that because I'm getting ready to wrap since we're at the top of the hour. But I will definitely give you an answer to that question. You're so welcome. Yes, and LaFern, freeze the part of your memory that knows the number, expiration, and code. I know. You're so welcome. Thank you, everybody, for coming and for showing up. And again, thank you for putting up with my not so brilliant and great camera experience, but it works out because I had a backup. I want you to make sure you think about that too for your own lives. What will I do if something goes wrong? Do I have power backup? Do I have an extra camera? That could be one of those things that's a need and not just a want. At this point, I think I'm going to go ahead and suck it up and get that Lumina so I can have that Lumina ready just in case things go badly. So y'all have a wonderful night. Thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for your questions. I'm going to go back through the questions and make sure I answered everybody inside of the chat in your different various places. But I always have such a great time with you. I hope that you will come back. We are here every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. So find that in your time zone and come back. Follow, like, and subscribe, and share the video stream with a friend. If there's somebody else that could benefit from learning about how to use live streaming to really stand out online, to serve more people, right? Serve more people, because it's not just about streaming for your own benefit, but it's about serving in that way that only you can, and sell more of your services. That's it for tonight, folks. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time in the stream.